Football is a world ruled by giants. The biggest clubs, the richest leagues, the most expensive players. History usually repeats itself. The same names lift the same trophies. The same power dominates year after year. But sometimes, football refuses to follow logic. Sometimes, a team nobody believes in rises up and shocks the entire planet. And when that happens, it reminds us why this sport is different from every other game in the world. Leicester City, 2015-16. At the start of the season, bookmakers gave them 5,000 to 1 odds to win the Premier League. Those odds were so ridiculous that some fans joked it was more likely to see a dinosaur walking down the street than Leicester lifting the trophy. Just one season earlier, they had barely avoided relegation. Their squad wasn't full of global superstars. Jamie Vardy had been playing non-league football not long before. Riyad Mahrez had arrived with little hype. N'Golo Kanté was almost unknown outside France. But week after week, something unbelievable started happening. Vardy broke the record by scoring in 11 consecutive Premier League matches. Mahrez danced past defenders like he was playing street football. Kanté covered so much ground it felt like there were two of him on the pitch. The giants started falling. Chelsea were beaten. Manchester City were beaten. Arsenal were beaten. And suddenly, it wasn't a joke anymore. By May 2016, Leicester City were champions of England. The entire football world stood still. Commentators called it the greatest underdog story in sports history. It changed the mentality of smaller clubs everywhere. For the first time in a long time, belief felt more powerful than money. Denmark, 1992. They didn't even qualify for the European Championship. They finished second in their group and were eliminated. Their players went on vacation. The tournament moved on without them. Then everything changed. Yugoslavia was disqualified because of war. Denmark received a last-minute call. They were invited to replace them. No preparation. No proper training camp. No expectations. They entered the tournament as outsiders with nothing to lose. But something special was building. Peter Schmeichel was unstoppable in goal. Brian Laudrup brought creativity and confidence. The squad played with freedom because nobody expected anything from them. They reached the final against Germany, the reigning world champions. Germany had experience, power, structure. Denmark had belief. Denmark scored first. Then again. When the final whistle blew, the impossible had happened. A team that wasn't even supposed to be there were champions of Europe. That tournament became known as the Danish Miracle. And it reminded the world that football doesn't care about predictions. Greece, 2004. When the European Championship began in Portugal, all the attention was on the big names. Portugal at home. France with their golden generation. Italy with their defensive mastery. Greece were barely mentioned. Their manager, Otto Rehagel, built a team based on discipline. Compact defense. Organized structure. Perfect timing. It wasn't flashy football. It wasn't glamorous. But it was effective. They stunned Portugal in the opening match. They eliminated France. They eliminated the Czech Republic, and then they reached the final. Again against Portugal. In Lisbon. In front of thousands of Portuguese fans. The pressure was enormous. But Greece stayed calm. A single header from Angelos Charistes changed history. When the match ended, Greece were champions of Europe. It wasn't just an upset. It was a tactical lesson. Coaches across Europe studied that tournament for years. Greece proved that unity and discipline could defeat raw talent. Cameroon, 1990. The World Cup in Italy was expected to be dominated by traditional powers. Then Cameroon arrived. In the opening match, they faced defending champions Argentina. No one gave Cameroon a chance. They won. Roger Milla, at 38 years old, became the symbol of the tournament. His corner flag dance celebration became iconic. He scored crucial goals that pushed Cameroon into the quarterfinals, the first African team in history to go that far. They played without fear. Without doubt. Even when they eventually lost in extra time to England, the message was clear. African football had arrived on the global stage. Croatia, 2018. A small nation with a population of just over 4 million people entered the World Cup quietly. They had talented players, but few believed they could reach the final. Luka Modric controlled the midfield with elegance. Ivan Rakitic added intelligence. Mario Mandzukic brought strength and determination. Croatia didn't have an easy path. They defeated Argentina in the group stage. They survived multiple knockout matches that went to extra time. They eliminated England in the semi-finals. Every match tested their endurance. By the time they reached the final against France, the world had fallen in love with their story. They didn't win the trophy. But they won something else, global respect. Their journey showed that small nations with unity and heart can stand on the biggest stage. Turkey, 2002. They entered the World Cup as outsiders. But match after match, they surprised everyone. They defeated Japan. They defeated Senegal. They reached the semi-finals against Brazil. They didn't make the final, but they finished third, the greatest achievement in Turkish football history. Their run changed how people viewed them. It wasn't luck. It was courage and confidence. Iceland, 2016. A nation of around 330,000 people. Smaller than many cities, they qualified for their first major tournament and immediately made history. They drew with Portugal. They defeated England in the round of 16. When the final whistle blew against England, the football world was stunned. The Viking clap celebration echoed across stadiums and social media. Iceland became proof that population size means nothing when belief is strong enough. Senegal, 2002. Their first World Cup. Their first match was against defending champions France. France were expected to win comfortably. Senegal didn't read that script. They defeated France 1-0 and reached the quarterfinals. Their speed, energy, and fearlessness made them one of the most exciting teams of the tournament. And once again, the underdog reminded the Giants that football has no guarantees. These teams didn't just win matches. They changed narratives. They forced fans to believe again. They reminded the world that football isn't controlled by money, reputation, or history. It's controlled by moments. By courage. By belief. And that's why, no matter how powerful the Giants look, there will always be room for the underdog to shock the world.